We can no longer afford to ignore our lost boys. For too long, society has pursued a narrow definition of equality at the expense of addressing the very real needs of young men. The prevailing narrative has often painted men as the problem, labelling them as toxic or problematic, while failing to offer a positive vision of masculinity.
But when you look at the statistics for example, whether women are paid more than men, there's still a big gender gap, which varies between 11.3%, women are getting paid less than men, 11.3%, to 7% if you believe another source. If you look at the number of businesses run by women, it's only 15%.
Hey, welcome back for this. In today's video, we're going to see this news outlet released a video which kind of shows that men are really required in this society, otherwise it's gonna crumble. Let's see what we got here today.
Hi, I'm Miriam Cates and this is GBN Originals. In recent years, we've witnessed a seismic shift in the landscape of gender equality. The latest report from the Centre for Social Justice reveals a startling reversal of the gender pay gap, with young women now out-earning their male counterparts. But we must ask ourselves, is this truly a victory for equality? Or are we witnessing the unfolding of a profound crisis among our nation's young men? The findings of the CSJ's Lost Boys report paints a grim picture of the challenges facing boys and young men in the UK. From the moment they step into primary school, our education system is failing them. By the end of their first year, while 75% of girls achieve their expected outcomes, just 60% of boys reach the same benchmark. This disparity persists throughout their educational journey, culminating in a significant gap at university level, where female undergraduates outnumber males by a ratio of 3 to 2.
I think some of the blame should also be put on, this special quotas for women in education or even in workforce, as you know. They're given some kind of advantages, more scholarship options and all that stuff compared to guys. Now, this is not just a US thing, it's happening worldwide. Everywhere, women are more preferred to be given special attentions, more advantages to succeed in, education, workforce, because they were less in number. But now, the numbers have risen more than men, and this is the current situation. Let's continue.
But the crisis doesn't end with education. The transition from school to employment or training has become a difficult path for many young men. The number of 16 to 24-year-old males not in education, employment or training has surged by 40% since the pandemic, compared to a mere 7% increase among young women. Mental health issues are now the fastest growing cause of economic inactivity among young men, a trend that should alarm us all. The economic consequences of this crisis are dire. In a nation already grappling with an ageing and increasingly unwell population, we simply can't afford to lose the vital contributions of young men in their prime. The decline of traditionally male-dominated industries such as manufacturing and agriculture and construction has left a gaping void in employment opportunities for young men without university degrees. Since 1997, we've witnessed a staggering 40% reduction in men working in manufacturing, equating to the loss of over 1.3 million jobs. As these stable, well-paid and meaningful roles vanish, young men are left adrift, struggling to find their place in the workforce and achieve the financial security and status that they crave.
So some of the jobs you mentioned requiring you to work in these construction fields and all that, maybe some could be very dangerous jobs. Now the issue is men used to do that because they wanted to provide for their family, they wanted a good future for, their wife and kids. Nowadays, the kind of woman we got, no man is planning to have marriages because 80% of the time they lead to divorce anyways. So why would a man or a young guy risk his life or a good prime days working in these kind of situations where he might be nice, but he is also putting himself in risk of any kind of injury? It doesn't make sense. So maybe that's the reason more guys are avoiding such kind of jobs.
Do you think it's fair to say then that boys are at the back of the queue and that this is a result of a push for, I don't know, what would you say, gender equality, diversity, whatever you think?
Well, yes, it does seem to be that boys are at the back of the queue. And I think that the results from our study are really quite alarming. Boys falling behind girls. Things have changed very, very rapidly. Now, you might say, well, why does that matter? And of course, there's no reason at all why women shouldn't have equal opportunities in education and employment. But when you have a whole generation of working age, fighting age men who are disenfranchised, hopeless, don't have a chance at finding employment, and therefore have less chance of finding a partner and becoming a father, that is a problem for the whole of society, not just the young men involved.
Yeah, Roger, what's your take on this report that's come out then? And do you think that there's a chance that a generation of young boys, now maybe young men, have been brought up with this notion that they are in some way inherently toxic and full of privilege, and actually we're now seeing that play out, which is that more of them have screwed their lives up?
No. I think what you've got here is a very good report for the Centre of Social Justice, which does really good and interesting things, though it admits itself that it doesn't yet know the causes of the problem it's identified. What it doesn't justify is your statement that has gender equality left boys behind. What it identifies is a consistent record of girls doing better than boys educationally. But when you look at the statistics for example, whether women are paid more than men, there's still a big gender gap, which varies between 11.3%, women are getting paid less than men, 11.3%, to 7% if you believe another source. If you look at the number of businesses run by women, it's only 15%. The idea that you advantage or deal with this problem with young men by disenfranchising women or holding them back is a quite extraordinary notion. It's one thing to analyse the problem, another thing to say, hold back women who are still disadvantaged because boys are not doing too well.
See, why do they bring guys on the panel who have really no sense of what's actually happening? If you're talking about younger guys, bring the younger guy onto the panel to discuss what the issue is. But they will always bring this old, soon-to-be under the grave kind of person to talk about the younger guys. Like, we don't want their opinions. But then he mentions about the gender pay gap thing, women are paid less and all that stuff, because they don't do all the kind of dangerous jobs that the guys do to get well paid. So if you compare those jobs to women who are just doing office work, which are very less risk to life, maybe there is some kind of gap if you compare this kind of people, but the service they provide to the nation is not equal.
That is purely the result of women who have children tend to take time out of a career and therefore earn less while they're working not at all or part-time, and therefore tend to go back in different professions, different grades by choice. Okay, there isn't an objective pay gap because it's illegal to pay a man and a woman different amounts for the same job. But what we're saying is, for the first time ever in the emerging generation, so that's 18 to 25, for the first time ever, so this is men and women working full-time before they've had children, men are working less. So that's significant. Secondly,
hold on.
Another critical factor in this crisis is the alarming rise in fatherlessness. Nearly half of British children now experience parental separation, and 2/3 of young men agree that growing up without a father is a leading cause of behavioural problems. The absence of strong male role models is contributing to a wider crisis of masculinity in Britain today. Boys raised without fathers are significantly more likely to end up in prison, face poorer economic outcomes, and perpetuate the cycle of becoming absent fathers themselves.
I guess we all know why most of the kids are fatherless now. It has nothing to do with how bad the guy was. It has much more to do with how much of a beneficial divorce is to the woman. She can be free, she will get free resources from the guys, might even take his house.
Society's shifting attitudes towards masculinity have only exacerbated this crisis. More than 4 in 10 people believe that traditional masculine values such as courage, resilience and competitiveness are no longer valued by society. At the same time, many young men feel unfairly portrayed as weak or pathetic in the media, leading to a deep crisis in male self-esteem. When masculinity is frequently labelled as toxic or problematic, is it any wonder that so many boys struggle to envision a positive path to manhood? The consequences of this crisis are far-reaching and deeply concerning. Young men are disproportionately represented among those excluded from school, and many find themselves pushed into crime or incarceration. The undermining of traditional masculinity in recent years has left a void that many young men desperately need to be filled. They crave guidance on how to channel their energy and emotions constructively. Without appropriate outlets for their frustrations, many feel hopeless and disenfranchised. Some turn to violence, others to extreme pornography and misogynistic online communities. Many retreat into the almost exclusively male world of online gaming. Most tragically, suicide has become the leading cause of death among young men. More than half of the public believe that addressing fatherlessness would greatly benefit society, a view held even more strongly by young men, 2/3 of whom agree with that. We can no longer afford to ignore our lost boys. For too long, society has pursued a narrow definition of equality at the expense of addressing the very real needs of young men. The prevailing narrative has often painted men as the problem, labelling them as toxic or problematic, while failing to offer a positive vision of masculinity. We must recognise that men and women are biologically and psychologically different, with distinct wants and needs. Status, for instance, is crucial for men, with a strong correlation between male status and life expectancy. Yet over recent decades, we've steadily eroded traditional routes to status for millions of men. Meaningful work, marriage, fatherhood, and the chance to earn respect by taking responsibility to provide for and protect their families. The crisis facing Britain's young men is not just a matter of statistics or policy debates. It's a human tragedy unfolding before our eyes, with far-reaching consequences for our society and economy. We must act now to provide our boys with the support, guidance, and opportunities they desperately need.
Me personally, I think the damage is already done. Women just have too much of an advantage legally, financially. I mean, by financially, I mean the job opportunities. And by legally, I mean they are benefited by not staying in a marriage. So even if the guy works hard, get all the accomplishments he wants, gets good money, just to find a good wife so that he can take responsibility of providing to his family. The woman can just one day wake up and decide she just wants free money. She doesn't want this, she doesn't want to be your partner. And there you go, all that hard work down the drain. Now you're just working to pay the child support and just live miserably. All your hobbies are gone because you're working hard to provide for the child who's not even living with you. It's just crazy. But let me know what you guys feel about this entire thing. And if you want to watch the original video, it will be in the description below.
Here by 8. Oh, okay.
Hey!
Oh.
How you doing? What
Good, how
are you waving? I can't tell. I see you're shaking, but I don't know what's happening. I'm scared. Oh.
Solomon just unlocked the secret to hitting a PR. Before he makes his attempt, watch what he does. Boom, right there. This is called an anabolic recovery nap. A good 2 minutes of REM sleep is all you need, and it's proven to increase strength by 15%. Now he's fully awake and recharged and ready to demolish his PR. And there he goes, PR baby. Now before you say, oh, this kid doesn't know what he's doing. Well, if that's the case, I ask you this, how is he a professional personal trainer at the most high quality performance gym in the world? Called Planet Fitness.
These smart arms are controlled by my brain through a neural link, allowing me to use these arms to jack off up to 4 of my homies without me actually being gay.
Doctor, if you're the one who's controlling arms as you suggest, wouldn't touching your homies make you gay?
How right you are. Which is why I developed this no-homo chip to protect my higher brain function. It means no matter how many PP I touch, I will never be gay. In my head, something talking. No homo chip. Suck dick? No, I'm not gay. That's right. The real crime would be not to finish off my homies.
Well, anyways, guys, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment your opinions in the comment section below. There are some more videos if you're interested. That's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.